The Enneagram in the Workplace is a series of 9 brief interviews with successful men and women that clearly illustrate the differing leadership styles of the 9 Enneagram types. As you watch this video, keep an open mind, remembering that there are 9 truly different ways to contribute effectively to organizational health and prosperity. When you look at the Enneagram diagram, you will notice an inner triangle connecting types 3, 6, and 9. This triangle represents the core types of the 3 centers of intelligence: heart, head, and body. Each core type forms a triad with 2 associated types that display variations on a theme. For purposes of this video, we will be presenting the Enneagram in triad order, beginning with the core type of the triad, and then moving to the 2 wing types. We begin with the heart triad, types 2, 3, and 4. The types in the heart triad perceive the world through a filter of emotional intelligence. Heart types devise strategies for gaining approval and connection, while crafting an image that they believe will make them more acceptable to others. The core of the heart triad is type 3. Threes believe that people are rewarded and loved for what they do, and not for who they are. Consequently, threes are highly motivated go-getters who focus their attention on tasks, goals, and accomplishments as a means of gaining recognition and approval. Though they are confident leaders, they tend to push their true feelings aside in favor of maintaining an image of efficiency and success.
I'm very optimistic. I am very goal-oriented. I am somewhat of a workaholic, if not a definite workaholic. I love change. I love trying something new. I love a new way, and maybe perhaps a better way of doing something. With the competition, with the goal setting, and so on that a 3 does, I was very tunnel-focused to get the job done, to get it done quickly, to make as much money as I could. Competition was my first love, and cooperation is now, as it is in business, becoming much more prevalent. By nature, I still will be extremely competitive, even though I say I'm not. My business is changing in leaps and bounds daily, and I have to be flexible and learn how to go with the new direction business is going. Before the Enneagram, I do believe that I just sort of bowled my way straight through things. And conflict, I knew the right answer, so therefore I just went straight ahead. I think that 3s, yes, definitely should keep the energy flowing, should keep on goal and on track, to show that the jobs can get done, they can get done quickly, they can get done to other people's satisfaction also. Definitely, and keep the optimism. This new company that I was describing, it is very much a 90s company. It's very much involved in teamwork, technology, networking, etc. I love it. And on the negative side, I tend to believe that there aren't very many negatives about being a 3, but on the negative side is I tend to have problems with emotions. I don't like feeling things. It was amazing to me, I hate to say it because it sounds so egotistical, but it was amazing to me to find out that there are 8 other valid points of view, some perhaps even better than mine. So it changed me socially to being more empathetic, to listening better, and so on. If I disagreed with an authority figure before, I just disagreed, and it was flat out black and white. Now it's gray. I try to understand what they're doing. I don't always get it, but I try to do that. And as far as authority, from my point of view as a 3, I love authority. I love being in control. It's difficult for me to take a back seat and to listen and to learn from other people of authority. I have learned to listen a lot more. I've learned that just by talking, I'm not learning, I'm not being empathetic, but if I listen and figure out where they're coming from, it certainly helps me. I think I tended to make snap decisions and do them just from my point of view without considering what other people were saying, what they were feeling, and so on. And I think that prior to the Enneagram, I did think of myself as probably having the answers, and what was good for other people was if I acted as a benevolent dictator. I found that I had problems with people who were very detail-oriented, were very tunnel vision, and so on. And by taking the Enneagram, I realized that by listening and working with them, I could get the desired response, but I couldn't just keep going on my path. Insecurities and fear for a 3, we would like to say, I would like to say they don't exist. That I'm not fearful, that I'm not insecure. However, I don't think that's absolutely valid. Risk doesn't always pay off, but it pays off enough times that it's certainly worth doing. I think probably the most important thing for 3s to stop doing in a business situation or socially, for all of that, is to just be so driven and so goal-oriented that they're not seeing the big picture, that they're not taking time to feel their emotions and to experience them, to experience what other people are experiencing. And it's difficult for me to do, but to stop doing and to feel, very difficult.
A major leadership development task for 3s is to moderate their pace and goal orientation in favor of taking the time to build professional and personal relationships. In contrast to Type 3, Type 2 is relationship-oriented and sensitive to the feelings of others. 2s believe it is necessary to give of themselves in order to gain approval from others. As a result, they focus on fulfilling the needs and supporting the goals of their coworkers. 2s excel at generating good feelings and supporting the development of others. In the process, they often repress their own needs in favor of maintaining an image of selflessness and indispensability.
It became clear to me that I was a 2 as I began to observe the way that I pay attention to people and how much I pay attention to what other people's needs are and how I can satisfy those needs and how I interact with people, and the connection that I get with people led me to really understand that I was a 2. My leadership style really involves trying to make people comfortable with what they're doing as they grow towards achieving the best that they can achieve. I work together with people, not in a dominating role. I really feel like I like to work side by side with people, so that I'm working with them, they're not working for me. But I want to let people develop to their best potential what they're able to do. It's a downside, and when you become too friendly with people, it's very difficult to give criticism to people because you think that they're going to like you and be part of the team if they feel good about themselves. And if you criticize them, then there's a concern they won't feel good about themselves. But it's really important for other people to feel comfortable as we move along that path that changes direction, especially in a startup company. You change direction very quickly and very often, and people get afraid. Once I know the direction, I certainly sometimes take a long time because I'm trying to gather and make sure that I make everybody happy before I move forward. But once I sort of have a vision in my head, there's not much that will stand in my way. I can move pretty solidly in the direction that we need to go in. If I have a good rapport with the person that has authority over me, if I really trust that person, then I will support that person and be behind them and defend that person enormously. My authority over people is probably more difficult. I have problems telling people, criticizing people or giving them some strong direction that may be counter to what I think they want to hear. I'm actually more comfortable having someone else have the power where I'm sort of the second person in command, carrying through all the work behind it, but actually not having the real power. It's helpful for me to understand my Enneagram point, to sort of watch how I get caught up with people, which is really a wonderful place to be when you're enticing people to come join this crazy startup. I mean, you can really create an environment where they feel comfortable. On the other hand, I need to watch when it starts to take over me and I'm so concerned with the needs of other people that I'm not taking care of what the company needs are and what my needs are. And sort of try to understand the conflict as quickly as possible with that person and figure out what they needed to get the job done. I mean, I'd really sit down with them and work very closely with them. Sometimes it would happen that Bill moved so quickly that a lot of times people would feel left behind. So I felt I needed to go in and kind of shore up these people a little bit and give them some confidence that they could kind of get back on the fast train ride that we were on. I tend to really probably get involved to make people feel good that I'm hearing what they're saying, give them a lot of feedback, talk to them a lot of times. So it's easy for me to continually talk to people often about the same problem. I'm very tolerant of people having the same issues and coming back with the same problem. In a startup, I was doing everything when we started. There were 3 of us, and so I was doing everything, which fits right into my model of being indispensable. So as we hired more people, and I had to let go of various things and let people take responsibility, at times that was very difficult. And being aware of my 2-point and the Enneagram really helped me to understand that I was having trouble letting go and being this indispensable person. It was very difficult for me to actually ever ask people to do things that I felt, I sort of had to do it all and then sort of somehow get them involved, but it was very difficult for me to sort of separate myself from the people and say, okay, that's your job and this is my job. It was always this togetherness and sort of this always meeting their needs and my needs, but not really understanding that. So I really think now I'm able to separate. Before, I just would have been in everybody's face all the time, and when it didn't get done, get pretty angry about it. I never differentiated between work and friends, and that is very difficult in a work situation if you don't sort of make a work situation different than a social situation. I had to learn sometimes very much the hard way that to allow people to have their own identity and have their own pieces of things that they could do and not be so involved in everything all the time. It's still important to me for people to feel good about what they're doing in the work environment, and I think that you have a very strong capability to be able to make people feel good and to relate to them and to connect with them. Being so involved in the feelings really can be a problem for me. If I can't pull myself away from that, I just get really sucked into each individual problem at a very minute level in trying to adjust things to make someone feel better at the moment. And I think that can be a real issue for me, to try and step back from that a little bit.
A crucial leadership development challenge for Type 2 is to both give and receive appropriate support and to develop the freedom to make decisions in the best interests of the business as well as of its people. Type 4 has ultimate ideals for both work and relationships. 4s believe that it is only possible to gain approval from others by being unique and deeply authentic. Their style displays creative flair and deep compassion for others, but they often feel insufficient when they cannot live up to their own ideals. They maintain an image of specialness and emotional intensity that may make it difficult for them to value the ordinary experiences of life, to handle administrative details, or to maintain a steady purpose.
Yeah, I know I'm a 4, I think, because of a couple of reasons. One of them is sort of a tendency to be drawn towards drama and things that are fairly dramatic. And secondly, a tendency to become bored with things that are ordinary and really search out the things that are extraordinary, looking for that missing piece of something that would make the whatever was around me complete. I tend to be so focused on where I'm going that I'm not always the best person at bringing people along, as it were. I tend to be a very hands-off manager where, I will try and motivate people and I'll try and give them information that I would want to have in that situation. But there are many situations where I won't take the time to understand exactly what it is they need in order to go from where they are to where the goal might be or where they need to go. The other thing I think that I do is I have a tendency to leave people behind. I mean, as a point 4, I tend to sometimes get lost in my own vision or get lost in my own world. And being aware of that is something that, is a very useful knowledge. And I look for clues a lot. I don't go at problems directly head on very often. I tend to go at them sort of coming from the side. And I sort of couple that with some intuition and move in whatever direction I feel is appropriate. And there are pluses and minuses about that. The pluses are that I have a very easy time in sort of gathering the information that I see and making a decision and say that's the way we want to go. And that's pretty effective towards getting something done. The place where I think it's weak sometimes is that it doesn't always take into account what the effects will be on sort of other people or other things around me. Well, I don't much care for authority. I guess I really enjoy being in a position where I'm deciding where to go and I'm making a decision. That's a very comfortable position for me. It's not the same as, it's not a grandstanding position. A lot of times I will lead from behind, if you will. In other words, I'll work with Anna or with somebody else, and I will be making strategic decisions that somebody else will then carry out. I don't have any problem saying that, gee, I screwed up on that, I made a mistake, and mea culpa. And a lot of times I will do that even in situations where perhaps that doesn't really reflect what happened. And I'm not sure that's so good either, because that can sort of skew the organization in a way that people don't really accept their responsibility in a situation. Well, I tend to listen for a long, long time before I say anything when it has to do with, well, actually almost any situation. This gets back to when we were talking earlier about decision-making style. Part of what I usually do in any situation is I'll spend a long time listening and trying to understand what people are saying, where they're coming from, what's going on with them, whether it's about a situation that involves work or a situation that involves somebody's personal life or their employment or whatever. And then usually after listening for some period of time, I'll digest it and come back with a measured response. But it tends to be not a lot of interaction. And one of the things for a 4 in particular that is disarming for a lot of people is the intensity that we tend to have. And it's just that's just sort of a way of being. And I think before I did any work with the Enneagram, I was relatively unaware of that because it seems very natural. Things, you're very intense, but you don't feel like you're intense to yourself. And beginning to have an appreciation for that, I think really sort of enabled me to see what the impact of that would be on other people. And just, quite honestly, people can't take that or they're not comfortable with that for a lot of the time. For myself, I tend to, when I get into any sort of a stressful situation, I get very heady. I get very analytical, and I get dollars and cents numbers, whatever it is, and I'm a lot more effective if I drop down into my heart and sort of use some of those natural things that come along with being a 4. And it's a hard thing to do because there's a lot of protection in doing in being analytical, but yet I'm far more effective if I can be a little more open and working more from my heart. There's a tendency, I think, on the part of the 4 when this is not quite so obvious as feelings in relationship with other people, but there's a tendency when somebody doesn't agree with you or somebody doesn't want to go along with the way you want to go to exclude them and shut them out. And this is one of the things I think that you have to sort of guard against. Well, I always figure what's missing is just beyond my reach. I tend to like life on the edge, if you will, and that's sort of where I look for what's missing.
A major leadership development task for Type 4 involves learning to provide steady leadership in service of accomplishing their passionately held ideals. From the Heart Triad, with its focus on emotions and image, we now move to the Head Triad, Types 5, 6, and 7. These types perceive the world through a filter of mental processes, and they specialize in creative uses of imagination, analysis, and planning. They devise strategies to gain satisfaction by minimizing anxiety and diffusing painful or uncomfortable emotions. Type 6 is acutely sensitive to the world's potential hazards. Gifted with a rich and intuitive imagination, 6s can anticipate pitfalls and ferret out hidden agendas. They are dedicated and loyal team members who will persevere through difficult times. Their inquiring and questioning minds make them excellent troubleshooters, but when their imagination takes over, they may find themselves anxiously doubting their own capabilities and the dependability of their coworkers.
I'm always questioning why I'm saying something. Why do I want something to be exactly this way? What's the motivation behind it? Am I just worried that I'm going to be made a fool of? Am I worried the client will be unhappy? Am I worried that it'll waste time and I'm going to be paying an hourly wage and losing money? my bottom line, I get really scared. That's like the normal response, no matter what I do. I get scared. Am I going to make the right decision? So anyway, and so once I get that out of the way, the next step is to gather data. And that's concurrent with what my intuitive sense is. So I get a strong intuitive sense immediately on just about anything that I need to make a decision on. And I listen carefully to it, and then at the same time gather data to in a way validate it. The reason I became my own boss and started my company was not because I love taking risk. Being a 6 and taking risk almost seem contradictory, but in a way they're not. To be a boss meant I had to fully explore what authority means, truly, and take it inside deeply and know what that means for me. It's really quite easy to rebel against authority. That's the easy part, and I've done that a lot, and sometimes I'd still like to play with that. But to truly understand the full ramifications, which is having to have full consciousness, full responsibility, both for the good and the bad, and I do enjoy a little risk, as long as it's within certain parameters. As a 6, I just hate conflict. I truly do. I mean, even as you say the word, I get nervous. I go, I've got to get a lot of energy up. I've got to steel myself. Because what I'd really like to do is just have everything really smooth, come from the heart, be really open, have everything be harmonious. It makes me feel safe, and I like feeling safe. I feel when I'm safe that I can be creative, I can be open. At my innermost 6 core, I'd love for things to be really stable. I would love for things to be just easy, because then I feel safe. However, I get so bored because I need to shift a lot. I mean, I constantly need new things. The nature of my business constantly changes, so I love it. So I've got these two things going on, where I love change. On the other hand, I love to feel safe and on a plateau and not challenged. So I do it in increments. I don't feel that much of a risk taker. I have people all the time say, God, you take so much risk. Well, this must be a 6 version. What looks like on the outside is exactly what's going on the inside. I am easier taking risks in some realm than others. And interestingly enough, taking risk in my business isn't that big a deal for me. Taking risk in relationships scares me very, very much, and that's really very, very difficult. As a 6, I'm so prone to putting my nose to the grindstone and work, work, work. I don't take enough time back to find the joy in it. And I've decided one of my goals this year is to explore the 7 wing and say, fun? Fun, not the noodle fun, but having fun, taking more joy, and affirming that I can actually enjoy what I'm doing and not make it a duty, not make it just out of loyalty, which 6s are so prone to do, and not doing it because, well, that's what I'm supposed to do. As a 6, I can say personally, I'm very sensitive, very intuitive, and I sense many, many things. That's my interpretation of how I sense that from a fear. It can get me into deep trouble. And when I was particularly unconscious before I knew I was a 6, boy, that's when I had all sorts of problems. One thing as a 6 that seems pretty characteristic of most of us is through our scanning of making sure everything is safe, we see everything. I mean, I could leave this setting with you, come back and tell you exactly where everything was, what its position was, and what we said. And it's not because I consciously have a photographic memory. It's just I've done that through my entire life in order to make sure I knew where everything was. And so that's actually incredibly valuable when it's honed to a really conscious degree. I see and hear things many other people don't. They want to see what's at their feet. Man, I've seen all of that. And so honing that and trusting it, having faith that the first hit that you get off of that message or that sense is probably very true. So faith is real important, and just trusting. And the minute you slip into doubt, the minute I slip into doubt, it's all over.
Essential leadership development tasks for Type 6 include building trust and confidence in self and others, and moving ahead in the face of uncertainty, doubt, and fear. Type 5 is acutely aware of the amount of emotional and mental resources required in any situation. 5s are contained, emotionally detached types who conserve time and energy by leading with an analytical, logical style. They provide thoughtful and comprehensive analysis, are calm in a crisis, and respect others' boundaries and independence. However, their anxiety about overextending their personal resources may cause them to retract, even though the situation requires them to stay present.
I find that on a level which I have to describe as instinctive, I function most comfortably in an advising or counseling role. There's a real sort of satisfaction and pleasure I get from problem solving in a detached, analytical way. And the interaction with others in business oftentimes requires more public expression, more outer-directed energy, dealing with larger groups, making organizations change their activities in response to your input. And as an Enneagram 5, the quality of more self-contained, rational, mental energy is very difficult to take out and make a lot of noise and create movement among a large group of people. Whereas functioning more in an individual problem-solving mode or advising a board of directors or a senior executive team or dealing with some issue or project or problem, no matter what magnitude, it's quite instinctive to function more in a behind-the-scenes manner. I remember a time where we were considering as a company getting into the sales channel of selling to the government, and there's a heavy legal compliance government contract element of opening up that business, and so it fell to me to be a driver of a project, and I was very uncomfortable in a program leadership driving mode. Much more natural to sit back and sort of understand something, but not externally project any insights that I have, be able to take action as part of a team. So one aspect of being a 5 is expression of feelings. Can be a challenge, expression of negative emotion, which although you wouldn't think of this as particularly an emotional experience, it's supposed to be objective, but there is emotional content when there's frustration or disappointment. So the whole issue of revealing feelings or emotions has been, for me, the big vulnerability area. And to some extent in business you can skate by that. However, not really. It's very, very, very important to be whole and complete to function effectively, when things are ultimately demanding. I think I listened very well. I think that I have a sort of a quiet, dispassionate, detached demeanor, but it's very easy for people to talk to me. And that I pay close attention, and the reverse in terms of my expression. I'm learning that I'm not very apt to reveal a full range of emotion or ideas that there may be a mask with very little affect, so that what people will hear from me will be a stream of words which will be logical and hopefully well-formed and hopefully clear. But if people are looking for meaning in terms of body language or style or warmth or whatnot, that would be something that maybe pre-Enneagram I was particularly stunted at, and I've been trying to expand ever since. So as a leader who is a 5, it may be that there's a an ineffectual quality to leadership which doesn't project out and reach people in a way that is inspirational or compelling. So 5 leader may have to overcome personal barriers to just making themselves felt by others, potentially large groups, large organizations, and overcoming an aversion to retreating into their safe space of mental detachment.
The major leadership development challenge for fives is to balance analysis and action, facts and feeling, dispassion and engagement. Whereas Type 5 detaches to conserve energy, Type 7 engages in planning for positive opportunities that keep life energized and minimize limitations. 7s bring enthusiasm, inventive ideas, and a charming egalitarian flair to their leadership. Their optimism allows them to minimize the impact of painful experiences. However, their attention to stimulating options may divert them from making necessary commitments, and their attempts to avoid negativity may limit them from full involvement with life.
Well, I thought I was a 6 because I resonated so much with the connection between the intellect and fear. But on further study, I realized that the way that I handle fear is by looking for all the alternatives that can sort of keep me out of things that might go wrong in the future, and particularly pleasurable alternatives. I'm always looking for a way to see wherever it is we want to get as a positive in the eyes of the people that I'm trying to motivate. I don't like putting a stake in the ground. I don't like closing down alternatives, and many times a decision looks to me like closing down an alternative. And so I have had a tendency in the past to try and get other people to make decisions. In other words, I'll try and frame the decision, but then get somebody else to make it. I think partly I'm trying to avoid responsibility for the eventual decision. I always considered authority to be somehow suspect because people were doing it for selfish reasons. But I realize that that's one of the things that I'm called upon to do as my support of the organization. But it's not comfortable for me. And I look for that clever way in which the conflict dissolves. I'm always looking for a positive way out of a conflict situation. However, I would say that over the last year or two, I've come to realize that in certain situations, what's called for and, in fact, what's expected by other people is my standing up to a conflict. My style is to support an investigation of what's behind whatever the situation that we're dealing with. If it's a problem or an opportunity, I try to get people to sort of open up to a variety of possibilities, particularly early in dealing with the situation, such that we don't close down avenues just because we've jumped to a conclusion. And so I find that I'm trying to help people look deeper into a situation and what the possibilities for the future might be before analyzing those and determining which is going to be the optimal one. And I try to support, as I say, to get people to look at that because it's going to be valuable to them to see what these alternate possibilities might be. One of the things that I'm constantly looking for is to get people a way to see change that's necessary, change that's beneficial. And the way that people are going to relate to that is going to be different depending on how they see the world, how they pay attention to the world. Fundamentally, I think that risk is an issue of spreading your risks. You need to take risks in order to change and to keep up, but you can't put all your eggs in one basket. I worked for Xerox in the research organization for 22 years. For the first 10 years, I worked as an individual contributor researcher, and it was like getting paid to do your hobby. It was more than joy in your work. It was an unreal, wonderful situation. All we did every day, we came in and we tried to do something that had never been done before. And the people we worked for said, well, we need to support you in that. We'll buy it for you. And then they paid me at the end of the day. It was incredible. Becoming a manager and becoming an authority figure, becoming responsible for those things, having to interact with corporate processes, having to fill out documentation and stuff, I didn't like nearly as much as I like doing computer science research. And it was a big step for me. I did not enjoy that for a long time. Now I feel like I'm back in the position of trying to accomplish something that's never been accomplished before. And while the stakes are bigger now, and so there's a little more kind of fear and risk associated with it, I'm back to where I do enjoy my work. I would say that I, even if I became independently wealthy, I would say I would do a good 75% of what I do today because I find it engaging. Keep looking for ways to keep the positive into the situation, to emphasize the positive aspects of the situation so that other people can see the reasons to follow your leadership, not just because you're the one in charge or you're the one writing performance appraisals, but rather because you're the one that's supporting them seeing the positive possibilities in the future.
The leadership development task for Type 7 is to sustain optimism, positive plans, and possibilities while meeting commitments and accepting limitations. The final triad is the body triad, comprised of types 8, 9, and 1. The types in the body triad perceive the world through a filter of kinesthetic intelligence and physical sensation. As a consequence, they tend to rely on strategies that minimize discomfort and assure their personal position in the world around them. Type 9 is able to see all points of view and has a gift for creating consensus. 9s are excellent team players and mediators whose adaptability allows them to remain balanced and unruffled. They believe that the world requires them to blend in, so they tend to get along well with others. 9s are most comfortable when things are harmonious and will go to great lengths to avoid or diffuse conflict, often at the expense of their own agenda and personal priorities. Once they take a position, however, they can be tenacious and stubborn in its defense.
Always been oriented toward let's get a group together and work together. It's the cooperative idea of it's better to do things as a group. Let's all cooperate rather than compete. I'm quick to jump into if there's a conflict. I can see how to work compromise or a situation where we get rid of the conflict and everybody wins. That's just my nature. I'm always pulled to do that. The other aspects of being a 9 are the fact of the self-forgetting. I have to be vigilant to maintain focus, to not be scattered when I'm doing things. I tend to have many thoughts going on in my mind simultaneously and am easily distracted. So it requires focus on my part. To really, I have to be really paying attention to what's going on, what needs to be done, what are the priorities, and I constantly work to make my day productive that way. I'm a team builder. I can work with people. People see me and they'll follow me. They see that, okay, I'm for them, and therefore they have a certain amount of trust in me. The natural way of making decisions for a 9 is to get consensus, and that's what I tend to do. Well, if there's some decision we have to make and it's not clear how to do it, what I tend to do is get everyone else to give their opinion. I portray the facts, and we then try to move together to say, okay, what's the logical way we want to move here? I think I get along fairly well with power. I accept it, and I think the people that work for me feel comfortable with my style. They don't see me as somebody who lords over them or like in a general mode. I act as a mediator, as a facilitator, as a coach, so to speak, and they appreciate that. So I say that would be the good part. There's sometimes, though, when very strong, deliberate leadership is needed and someone who takes a very aggressive, out there mode. That's not me, and so I have to really work to kind of move up to that kind of stance. Mine's run away from conflict, or that's the first thing is, I don't want to be here. This conflict is, let's smooth it over here, or that sort of thing. Knowing that about myself helps me see that sometimes when conflict comes, what I've been able to do is catch, hey, this is how I'm feeling inside. I want to get out of here, and it's not necessarily, or it's maybe not what's called for. Sometimes it's important to say, okay, here's a conflict. I've got to get in there. I've got to get in there because it's important. There's something wrong happening here. I can straighten it out. I'm good at seeing the sides and getting in there instead of shying away from it. Get in and deal with it. I think mine has the attribute of merging with other people. I think I listen well and see their point of view. That's probably the good part of it. Perhaps the downside of that is oftentimes I'll take their point of view and I'll say, oh, okay, that's the right thing to do. Oftentimes there's several points of view, and if I'm not careful, I bounce around from point of view to point of view rather than say, okay, now I've got all the facts, now what do we need to do here? You can't act from all these different directions. I have a real focus on let's get interesting work. Let's all follow our heart here because there's interesting work out there. That's what we want to do. That's more important to me than making a lot of money. Is to let's do good work. The money will come. That's part of it. Then I think the atmosphere that's been created in the company is one that's comfortable. It's an invigorating, challenging environment. And I think people like to work there. I think the most important thing as a 9 is to take advantage of the fact that we are naturally team builders and we go for cooperation. And so we have this attribute of being able to build good teams and understanding different points of view and taking advantage of all the attributes of the other members of the team, whatever their numbers happen to be.
The major leadership development tasks for 9s involve getting clear about their priorities, setting limits, and expressing their own opinions. Whereas 9s focus on maintaining harmony, Type 8 is a straightforward, direct type whose attention goes to issues of power and control. 8s gain respect and assure protection from injustice for self and others by assuming their own truth and personal power. Fueled by a big, forceful energy, they display a zest and relish for life. 8s feel most comfortable when they have a situation under control, which makes them excellent managers and team leaders. However, their desire to maintain control may cause them to ride roughshod over conflicting points of view.
Very quick to respond at an energetic level, at a body level, rather than at a mental level. And I always wound up running things. It was very confusing to me why I wound up running things, but people wanted me to run things, so I ran things. I didn't actually feel like I was taking the lead, but I wound up with the lead. Basically, my leadership style was to be totally unaware of anybody else's truth. I wanted to do what I wanted to do, and I got it done, and over whatever it took, dead bodies or whatever. And it got done, and we were successful, and people both applaud you and reward you for success, especially monetary success and whatever, regardless of the details. Well, basically, I don't have any problems submitting to authority if the authority is in control. So as long as somebody's in control, I'm okay. I have very little patience if things are not being operated properly or not in control, and I will tend to try to take over if somebody's not in control, either whether they're above me or below me. When my judgment is unjust, then immediately begin to go through a subconscious and conscious assessment of what it takes to get my way. And unfortunately, the first question should be, listen to the other truth, and then go for the next step. I have a real sense of, quote-unquote, my concept of fair play. And if I feel like somebody's trying to take unfair advantage of myself or one of my people or the system or something I don't agree with, my immediate tendency is to abandon my best judgment and to try to rectify that, whether it's appropriate or not appropriate. And it does get me in trouble. It still gets me in trouble. It doesn't get me in as much trouble as it used to. But occasionally I blow out and make strategic, shall we say, political errors. And I really call them political. They have nothing to do with the truth. Well, I think in the past, my approach to conflict was to win. My approach to conflict now is a lot different. Whereas in the past, my mindset basically was an unconscious mindset, and it was one of powering over people and whatever skills were necessary, usually verbal, humiliational work, intellectualizing to the point where they look stupid, or pulling rank. There's all different types of what I would call verbal bullying that's totally unconscious and innate that you're not even aware of. Well, one of the things that's not changed is I like to be direct, and aides like to be direct, and I want direct feedback. So that is a rule of thumb in our company. I don't want surprises. I want to be told the truth. I'm not going to crucify the messenger. But basically, I need direct communication, and I've maintained that. It's very difficult for an aide. Cooperation is, because what an aide wants is delegation and control delegated. The aide wants to see things happen in a very controlled, effective way. So cooperation to an aide, at least this aide, means everybody's doing their job the way they ought to. So in a way, we're sort of like a police officer, which is not a great role. So we have to learn how to moderate that police officer energy and not get too controlling and too micromanaging, which has always been my biggest weakness. We're not big on collaborative in committees and stuff like that, but we are great on gathering information. I like to gather the information from as many sources as possible because we love to be correct. We love power, and we love those results. So if we've got the right information, then it's easy to make the right decision. It's sort of like, give me enough information that a sixth grader can make this decision on. That's where I want to be. Feedback was only useful from my viewpoint, from my own truth. So I believe that, if aides can understand other people's truths, they can assimilate that feedback in a positive way. And they need to do that in order to be more effective as an aide. Well, I think the aides have to appreciate that their energy and enthusiasm is welcomed when it doesn't run over people. And in fact, people like it a lot. They like to ride on the coattails of that type of energy. And it comes sort of naturally to us.
Aides' leadership development priority is to retain their engaging, energetic presence while noticing and moderating their impact and their all-out approach to leadership. In contrast to aides' attention to control, Type 1 is more concerned with maintaining high standards of correctness and responsibility. Ones create clear and fair guidelines by which they live and lead others. They display high integrity and focus on continual improvement and excellence. They feel most comfortable when things are error-free, so they are extremely good at producing a quality product or service. However, their focus on correcting error may cause them to believe that there's only one right way, which diminishes their flexibility and blinds them to the value in the diverse and differing standards of others.
The main factor that convinced me of my oneness was the presence of a very strong inner critic. I have a very critical inner voice. It's a voice that is very judgmental, very critical of myself, and of others as well. But in terms of myself, an example would be where if I came up with an idea for my business, almost immediately the critical voice would come up with 3 or 4 reasons why that probably wouldn't work, and not worth the effort, and just don't bother, and so on. Before I became aware of my oneness, I tended to fall into habits of judging myself very harshly, judging other people harshly. The other thing about ones is that we tend to decide upon one right way of doing something, and then tending to be fairly inflexible, even rigid about that one right way. And so as a result now, after a lot of work, I have to say, I am trying to be much more flexible, trying to pay attention to the quality of the relationships in the workplace, as well as to the end results and the methodology of getting there. The biggest challenge is to have that flexibility and have more inner coach voice for myself and for others to counterbalance that inner critic voice. The inner critic is still useful in some ways because there's a discernment and an attention to error or an attention to what might be out of place and not going well. And the inner critic can then be useful in terms of driving one to address those errors. I tended to hold people in authority to very high standards, overly high standards. So anybody at the VP level and above, I tended to judge them rather harshly, and that didn't do me much good. And something about the ones is that their criticalness of others, it's hard for them to hide. It certainly was hard for me to hide. I would probably go through a long period of silent resentment, and not do anything, but inside building up a real head of steam about what was wrong. And then when it came out, of course, it came out in a big gush and in often very destructive ways. Well, as a type 1, I certainly am aware that I have a drive towards continuous improvement. And quite frankly, I like it. I like looking back over my efforts at making improvements and just recognizing that many of them have paid off. In fact, sometimes I look back and I'm just absolutely amazed and very, very pleased with the distance that I've come. I think by their nature, one leaders tend to be very conscientious. They tend to be responsible, and they tend to have a drive towards clarity. My focus used to be pretty much on what needs to be done, what I'm responsible for, or what I feel I'm responsible for, or what I make myself responsible for. That always came first, and so there wasn't really a lot of enjoyment in my life, I would say. My knowledge of my type has really helped me to develop that side of myself that is more able to relax, to be in the moment, to really realize that almost every moment is a perfect moment.
An important leadership development challenge for ones is to maintain their high standards and devotion to improvement while quieting their critical mind and accepting that mistakes are a natural part of life. This completes our presentation of the 9 Enneagram styles of leadership. As you reflect on this video, remember the differences, challenges, and strengths that each type brings to the workplace, as well as each type's specific path for leadership development. Success in business does not come from following a formula, but instead from understanding and developing our own unique leadership style and appreciating the differing styles of others.